young, smart, and outstanding are the words you might use to describe Burkina Faso's new president, Ibrahim Traoré. The world's youngest president as of now, Ibrahim Traoré, a military officer, born in 1988 in Bondokuy. Burkina Faso has been the interim leader of Burkina Faso since the 30 September 2022 coup d'état, which ousted interim president Paul-Henri Sandaogo Damiba. At age 34, Traoré is currently the youngest serving president in the world. He received his primary education in Bondokuy, attended a high school in Bobo-Dioulasso, where he was known as quiet and very talented. From 2006, he studied at the University of Ouagadougou, where he was part of the Association of Muslim Students. He graduated from the university with honors. Ibrahim Traoré joined the army of Burkina Faso in 2009. He was sent to Morocco for anti-aircraft training before being transferred to an infantry unit in Kaya, a town in Burkina Faso's north. Promoted to lieutenant in 2014, Traoré joined MINUSMA, a United Nations peacekeeping force involved in the Mali War. In 2018, he was cited as one of the MINUSMA soldiers who showed courage during major rebel attacks in the Tombouctou region. He subsequently returned to Burkina Faso, where he assisted in operations against the escalating jihadist insurgency. Traoré fought in the Otapuanu offensive of 2019 and several other counter-insurgency operations in the country's north. He was promoted to captain in 2020. January 2022, Ibrahim Traoré was part of the group of army forces that supported the Burkina Faso coup d'état, a coup that ousted the then interim president, Paul-Henri Sandaogo Damiba, who has taken power just 9 months earlier through a coup. The coup came as the result of the junta's leader, Paul-Henri Damiba's inability to contain the jihadist insurgency. Traoré later disclosed that he and other officers had tried to get Damiba to refocus on the rebellion, but eventually opted to overthrow him as his ambitions were diverting away from what we set out to do. The dissatisfaction about the situation was highest among younger officers who fought against the rebels at the front lines. In addition, there were delays in pay for the Cobra troops. When the plotters launched their coup on 30 September, Traoré still held the rank of captain. The operation was carried out with support of the Cobra unit. In the direct aftermath of the coup, Traoré declared himself the new head of the patriotic movement for safeguard and restoration. On 6 October, he also assumed the position of interim president as head of state, supreme head of the armed forces. He promises to hold democratic elections in July 2024. Things have not been the same for France since Ibrahim Traoré assumed power as president to Burkina Faso. In February 2023, Traoré's government expelled the French forces assisting in fighting the local insurgency from Burkina Faso. He subsequently declared, "We really want to look at other horizons, because we want win-win partnerships, supporting the diversification of Burkina Faso's international partnerships." Shortly after, Traoré's government expressed support for a federation with Mali, and both invited Guinea. All three countries are under military leadership, and if it were to become a union, it would be the largest country ruled by a military junta. In April, he declared a general mobilization of the population to support the military, as rebel forces continued to increase the rate of their attacks. In the following month, Traoré questioned the planned restoration of democracy for 2024, stating that elections could not be held unless the insurgents were pushed back and the security situation had been improved. Burkina Faso's junta-led government has also suspended the print and online operations of French news outlet Jeune Afrique in the country, accusing it of seeking to discredit the military. The publication has openly protested against the move, calling it censorship from another age. During an interview with Sputnik Africa, President Ibrahim Traoré made it clear that Burkina Faso had the full right to oust any media outlet that dreams things up and tries to manipulate public opinion. several French media have indeed been suspended since December 2022 throughout the country. Indeed, following the case of Radio France Internationale, RFI, which was suspended in December 2022, the authorities of Burkina Faso did the same with France 24 in March 2023. The French news channel LCI has no longer been accessible in Burkina Faso for a period of 3 months since the end of June. In addition, 2 correspondents for the French dailies, Libération and Le Monde, were expelled this spring. President Traoré explained, "We are at war, and we will not tolerate the media coming to try to intoxicate our populations and try to manipulate them, to make subversive propaganda." He further elaborated, "We are not going to accept it, and we are entitled to suspend them. Even if tomorrow other media speak to them, we are going to suspend them, because they have an objective that is contrary to what we have as reality. And they don't go out on the ground, sometimes they dream things up. If you have followed why certain media were suspended, it is actually deplorable. Media that seek to confront the people, to stir up war, well, we're not going to get along with them. So that's why we removed them." In March, Burkina Faso denounced a military assistance agreement signed in 1961 with France. Earlier, Ouagadougou had secured the withdrawal of the French Sabre force from its soil. For President Traoré, this agreement is no longer relevant. He explained, "It's still quite old, and it's still colonization. We have to manage to move forward on our own." The Burkinabe leader also touched upon Operation Barkhane, led by France in the Sahel between 2014 and 2022. Commenting on its departure, he recalled that his country had wished that they go back home to defend the motherland. He emphasized, "We told the French that we do not want French soldiers to come and die on our soil. Leave us, we will fight like Burkinabés." Captain Traoré also added that his country has not seen a particular contribution of force. He further pointed out that it's when they were moving, some were able to uncover all the arsenal that there was in terms of armor, in terms of combat helicopters, in terms of intelligence assets and everything. We can't have all that. And then the terrorists walk around and do whatever they want. In any case today, we managed to identify terrorist columns and strike them. So we also have the means capable of doing it. So it was not necessary. They had to leave, that's all. From all indications, Burkina Faso's president wants nothing to do with the French military accord anymore. According to Reuters and the New York Times, Traoré was suspected of having a connection with Russian mercenary organization Wagner Group due to having expressed anti-French and pro-Russian views. As Traoré entered Ouagadougou, the nation's capital, supporters cheered, some waving Russian flags. The government of Ghana publicly alleged that Traoré began collaborating with the Wagner Group following the coup, enlisting the mercenaries against the jihadist rebels. Traoré denied this, claiming that Al Wagner are the VDP, referencing the Volunteers for the Defense of the Homeland. On 29 July 2023, following the 2023 Russia-Africa Summit, Traoré said that the people of his country support Russia and communicated that a decision had been made to reopen the Russian embassy, which was closed in 1992. According to the newspaper Le Monde, in May 2023, before its suspension, the Traoré regime seems, for the time being, to be favoring the use of its own forces in the fight against the jihadists, and has not asked Wagner's Russians for help. Burkina Faso's ruling junta has claimed to have thwarted a coup attempt, the latest sign of the divisions within the military's senior ranks as it battles an intensifying insurgency in the Sahel state. Rimtalbajine Emmanuel Odrogo, spokesman for the military transition government, said late on Wednesday that the coup was foiled by the country's intelligence and security services on Tuesday. The military prosecutor's office later said 4 officers had been arrested and 2 others were on the run in the West African country, adding in a statement that there were credible allegations about a plot against state security implicating officers. Like its neighbors Mali and Niger, Burkina Faso is struggling to cope with a worsening security crisis that has spread throughout the Sahel, the semi-arid strip south of the Sahara Desert. Armed campaigns by Al-Qaeda and ISIS affiliates and other local groups have killed thousands of people and displaced millions. All three countries are run by military governments that swept to power promising to restore stability. The three countries formed a security alliance this month to assist one another in the event of a rebellion or external aggression. The Mutual Defense Pact was formed in direct response to regional bloc ECOWAS's threat to restore deposed Niger President Mohamed Bazoum with force. Thousands of pro-junta supporters took to the streets of the capital Ouagadougou and other cities to show support for junta leader Ibrahim Traoré on Tuesday, with smaller-scale protests continuing on Wednesday night. Such divisions are common within Burkina Faso's military. Traoré made sweeping changes at the top of the security agencies this month, including appointing a new chief for the National Intelligence Agency, following the arrest of army officers accused of planning a putsch. The news of a second failed coup attempt in a month comes in the same week the junta suspended the French magazine online and print distribution Jeune Afrique for publishing what it called untruthful reports about tensions within the military. Captain Traoré accused France, the country's former colonial power, of helping Colonel Damiba stage a comeback and protecting him at its embassy or at a base where French special forces are posted. The French Foreign Ministry denied it was hosting Colonel Damiba in any of those locations, and Captain Traoré later retracted his comments. Burkina Faso is very rich when it comes to natural resources. They produce gold, zinc, copper, manganese, phosphate, and limestone in substantial quantities. It also has reserves of diamonds, bauxite, nickel, and vanadium. However, these remain largely unexploited. While the extractive sector accounted for only 8% of government revenues, it contributed to 75% of exports in 2019. Increased investment and the progressive opening of industrial mines has led to a development of the mining sector. The sector has played an important role in Burkina Faso's National Development Plan, which contributed to an increase of gold production from 38.5 tons in 2016 to 50.5 tons in 2019. The government also introduced several legislative and regulatory changes to encourage further investment, diversify the economy, and increase revenues from the sector. The country's mining legislation provides for artisanal mining, semi-mechanized mining, and industrial mining. Burkina Faso has used the EITA to contribute to debates relating to transfers to local communities, poverty reduction, and gender representation in the extractive sector. Despite government's efforts to formalize the sector, political instability and security challenges threaten sustained progress in extractive governance. Burkina Faso's main exports are gold, 70% of total exports, cotton, 13%, zinc, phosphate rock, and livestock make up the rest. Burkina Faso's main export partners are France, Singapore, Ivory Coast, Switzerland, China, and Turkey. Despite being rich in natural resources, Burkina Faso still suffers poverty. Reason why Traoré is doing everything in his power to right that wrong. As of now, Burkinabés are fully behind their president, showering praises and encouragement. But we cannot say the same for France, as everything done so far does not work for their good. Is it possible France was behind the attempted coup against Traoré? Is France planning anything to bring down Traoré from presidency so that their reign continues? Keep your comments flooding. Like this video, share, and don't forget to subscribe for more content.